We think our next guest has a lot of those answers. That's why we have him on the show. Please welcome into the show, Mr. David Stryzewski. He's the CEO of Sound Planning Group. He's up in Kirkland, Washington. Thanks for being on the show, Dave. All right. Things have quieted down on the as the world turns front, right? We had enough of the soap opera yesterday and last night. And so let's get back to business. The jobs numbers out of the way. What do we do now?
Well, the jobs numbers came in like okay. They weren't bad. They weren't good. They were just sort of like maintaining. It wasn't the best report we've ever seen. So, all eyes are on the Fed. They meet next Wednesday. Here's basically my point. Fed's not going to be, dropping rates right now. And even if they did move them a quarter, how big of a difference would it make? The short-term side of rates have been coming down in spite of whatever the Fed's doing. And so, we're at a time, though, where there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of tension and things that could go potentially wrong, from this point forward. So, Scott, we talk about it all the time, how the average person is struggling right now in America. We talk about how, probably the lower, end 70 to 80% of our economy and people in it are having a difficult time. Maybe there's a little bit of room on that credit card, but, where are they going to spend it? Where are they going to, allocate those dollars? And is there light at the end of the tunnel? And so I do think that there is light and that there's hope and that we're positioning very well for the future. But I think, here in the short run, we might be headed for a recession. And if I could be honest, if Powell remains in charge, I think that's probably a good move for Donald Trump because he can just blame it on him as the Joe Biden appointed, chairman. And he's obviously been managing this inflation thing the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, you make some great points. I'll say this. It probably fits a little bit with what you're saying. I think that 70 to 80% of the folks in the economy, or at least the bottom 80%, let's call it, we already had a recession. Maybe we're still in one. I don't know. But I think that's to some degree why Donald Trump was elected on November the 5th, because they were not believing what the Democrats were telling them. That it's not as bad as it is. It's much better than it is. You don't feel the pain. It's all, it's rosy going forward. You can't tell people how they feel. That's the bottom line. And I think that the bottom 80% had been in a recession for a while. Remember, it was in 2022 when we had those 2 quarters in a row negative growth, and then they changed the definition of what a recession was. So maybe I'll even go back that far and say we had and then the way that they started to print better GDP numbers so we wouldn't be in a recession was spent a ton of government money. So I feel confident that for the bottom 80% of those folks, they definitely felt like they were in a recession. So fast forward, election, they want out of the problem we're in now. They throw Donald Trump into office and throw Biden out of office. I don't think a lot has changed for those people yet, right? And I think that's what you're saying. And so in order to have that happen, we're going to have to see inflation come down, maybe to, it's not going to be deflation, I don't think, unless that's a big problem. But we're going to need to see the inflation cool. We're going to need to see the jobs hang in there. We're going to need to see wages rise. And we're going to need to see these tax cuts get through. Maybe these interest rate cuts would help. I mean, to your point about Powell, I say it on probably almost every single segment. Back in September when we were over 3.3% in inflation, which was a lot higher than it is today, and we were at all-time record highs in the stock market, he felt like it was going to be okay to cut interest rates a full percentage point in the last third of the year, right? So, and now he can't get off his duff to cut them now. I don't understand. So that's where I'm coming from. I think that we have already been in one recession, and I think we haven't made it better for those people yet. But hopefully, like you said, the things that we've got in front of us do make it better, and hopefully that's sooner rather than later.
Yeah, well, one of the things I'll mention about the quote-unquote big, beautiful bill, or whatever we want to call it, what that does is it incentivizes workers. People that want to go and work overtime, how about that? That's free. People want to get a second job, working part-time nights and weekends at a restaurant, which, in the greater Seattle area where I live, that was a big challenge for a long time, is find waiters and waitresses. Guess what? Those tips will be not taxed. And so those that are trying to go forward and to do something, I like incentivizing ideas like this. I like incentivizing that hard work as opposed to incentivizing just handouts for checks. But the reality is the consumers are struggling. We did have 2 negative quarters of GDP back in 2022, but yet the market has been up a couple of years in a row better than 20%. And so one thing people need to recognize is that if you actually drop interest rates, that's actually more of a recessionary move. So I think Powell's going to drop rates. He's going to, come in looking hawkish. He's actually really a dove in disguise. And as soon as we have a real issue, I think that he's going to make a move. He's going to drop those rates. That's really where things go off to the races. But the Phillips curve idea that the Fed uses that talks about interest rates and how unemployment works, it is not actually a correlated idea. It is a misunderstanding to think that the Phillips curve is how this all works. There are times when we have high inflation and high unemployment. Yep. Low inflation, low employment. It's not a correlated idea. So we need to be considering these things and where we're going right now. But, I think that we've got a lot of challenges that could show up. I mean, even the Taiwan, saber rattling that could happen. So, I would definitely be, buckling up a little bit here for the turbulence that could be ahead as we, go forward into this new year. But I think we're smooth sailing by the 250th anniversary next July 4th, 2026.
I'll be waiting for that. Thank you very much for coming on, David. Always great to see you. Have a great weekend. David Stryzewski coming to us all the way from Kirkland, Washington.